Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table A Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. This is your host, Tim Burch, and continuing our theme of Women's History Month and women in surveying, I recently actually got connected with some people in the New York Society who kept bringing up this lady's name. And I thought, well, it sure sounds like this is somebody I needed to reach out and talk to. Because she's a principal of the firm, second generation. Gotta like that. I mean, as a fellow second generation, I like that one too. We're sitting here talking. I go, Jen. Do you prefer Jen or is it Jennifer?
I do. I prefer Jen. It's funny because I used to say Jennifer to everybody, and I realized no, call me Jen.
Okay, so, it's Jen Reap. She's with Badey and Watson.
Correct.
Very good. Badey and Watson in New York. I tell you what, Jennifer, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your bio, the company bio, and what are you doing with surveying these days?
Okay. So like every other second generation surveyor, I started working when I was about 3. So,
yes,
it's been my whole life. It's always been a part of my life. But I hated it when I was younger, and I tried very hard not to do it. But when you're a surveyor, that's your family, that's your life. You do it. So it was in my blood. I went to college to do something else. And of course, I worked all through college in surveying while I was going to college. And when I came out and I had a degree in something completely different, communications, actually, I, started working here again. And eventually I just had enough credit. I had enough time. I had enough experience to get my license. So I got it. And then I kept working and I became a partner, and then I obviously got my license. I became a partner, and then about 2015, I became the president of the company. And
very good, very good. So your firm is surveying and engineering. So what type of work do you generally do?
So we're a civil engineering firm, and so we do a lot of mostly septic, so water and septic, and mostly private work. We do a little bit. We do subdivisions and those kinds of things. So, but I try and stay away from the engineers. I just, I think we always have that competition going, like every surveyor and engineer.
Yes.
A mutual love and a mutual hate.
You got it. Well, and something that we typically talk, I try to typically talk about to surveyors from all over the country that we end up getting a chance to chat with. What is surveying like in your neck of the woods of New York? Because New York can be either New York City and full urban, or it can be it's literally the wild, wild west up in the upper parts of New York.
It really is. I absolutely love New York, and I love Cold Spring, which is where we are. We're about an hour north of New York City, and we're on the Hudson River. So one day we could be in this city measuring, an inch or a fraction of an inch and making sure that's fine. The next day we could be up in the mountains, in the Adirondacks or in the Catskills, and we can be climbing a mountain looking for something that might be 100 feet away and a little stone pile that we were searching for. So our terrain is rugged. Our deeds vary from something very precise to something, from that rock to this tree to, Abraham's corner, so it's tough. It can be tough, but it's challenging, and the terrain is challenging, and the property line determination is challenging, but we're lucky.
Well, what I'm picturing is how beautiful that has to be in fall color. That just has to be gorgeous.
It's absolutely the best. It really is, especially along the Hudson River. I mean, if you ever get a chance to be on the Hudson River and sailing through it, there's nothing like it.
Well, that sounds fantastic. My conversation a couple of weeks ago with a lady out in northwestern Montana. It's always great to have these conversations because that's one thing I think that's always consistent with surveyors is that how much we do appreciate, no matter where we're at, the beauty of where we are. And it's like you said, whether you're measuring down to the gnat's rear end in downtown New York City, or you're up in the Catskills, it's so different for everywhere you go.
It is. The whole country is pretty amazing. We really have everything here. There's nothing like it.
Well, very good. Well, tell us a little bit about your surveying career. And like I said, second generation. And I have met your father, a wonderful man. And so I can only imagine what that was like growing up under that and working under his wing. What was your career like once you decided you were really going to do the surveying thing? What were you able to experience to really solidify that, yes, I made the right choice? And I will say that the communication skills, you've got an added bonus there, having started there and went to surveying. But what did you learn about yourself in really wanting to be that surveyor?
Well, it's funny because I don't know who knows my father on what we're listening to, but my father has been very, very active in the New York State Association. And he has been president. He has been, through every one of those things. Most people in New York, if that's a surveyor, they know him. So that's a hard thing to live up to. He's a fantastic surveyor. He's wonderful. And I found out that we work well together, and I always thought we were kind of the same, but then I kind of found out we were different. I realized that we have complementing. I do things better than he does, and he does things better than I do. And once I realized that's okay, and you can use what he has, and I can use my communication skills, or I can be on an interview or those kinds of things. I'm going to use that to my advantage. I can have other people that do other things well. So it's been good and hard too. Sometimes we clash, but that's all right. Yes, that's what you learn.
Yes, exactly. Well, and besides your father, and being a woman in a male-dominated field, what other mentors have you had in your career that's really shown you the way that, this is really what this is kind of my calling, and I can do this, and having some examples of people that have helped you along the way to say, yeah, I am good at this. I can make this work.
Well, my poor partner, Steve Miller, has been with me since I was a teenager, and I was pretty awful. I hated surveying. I trudged through it with him, and he was the party chief. And now the poor guy, I'm his boss. So Steve Miller is one of my favorite people. And so he's somebody that I really love. But there are also some women that I really admire now. Being older, you really get that those people help you through, regardless of the fact if you knew them or not. But so Marie Welch and Patty Brooks, who were both past presidents of Nice Apples, and frankly, a very young woman, Ashley Metz, who is very active in Nice Apples, but she's younger than me, much younger than me, half my age. She could be my child. And, I wouldn't have gotten started talking to people and really sticking my neck out there had she not pulled me into it. So everybody, okay. Age range and men.
You bet. You bet. Well, and that's the important thing are those mentors that we have And we keep trying to have these conversations, especially with the younger generations coming in, that mentoring, it's a two-way street. It is older to younger, younger to older. That when somebody wants to say, well, it's reverse mentoring, no, mentoring is mentoring, and there's so much that we can learn from the younger generations, especially when it comes to technology, and sometimes bringing us out of our shells just a little bit to really find out who we really are, and really we grow into our roles seeing some of these things. So that's great. Yes. A little shout out to Patty Brooks, New York, NSPS New York director. I've gotten to know Ricky and Patty Brooks over the last few years. So I can only imagine, having been in the New York Society with them for years, what it's like, because those two are just a hoot. They are really just a lot of fun.
They are. They're great people.
Well, that's good. Well, and I tell you what, let's jump into talking about your role and as a surveyor. And I keep coming back around to, with a lot of women in it, that you are a surveyor. You just happen to be a woman, and in a male dominated field. Because you look at things differently, and I guess at this, talking about working with your father, just that really almost that kind of makes the point that you both see things differently, and that's how you can attack problems. You both do things well, but a lot of times they're different.
Yeah, they are different, and I think that we had to. It was hard to get here. When I started working in surveying, I was a unicorn. I mean, people would notice and people would ignore me. I mean, a lot of guys on construction sites would completely ignore me. I actually had where I would stand next to a guy that was, he was the rodman, and the construction foreman would talk to him, even though I was standing right there, and I would answer, and then he'd answer back to my rodman. And so it was hard. I just kept pushing through. I just made my way through, and I've gotten to my spot. But I'm sorry, I forgot my train of thought, because I remember that so vividly, at this man not talking to me. It's not like that now. I think I really got surprised at one point in my life when I realized the guys were, in their 20s or 30s, and I was their boss. And even though I know I was their boss, when they spoke to me, they came right up to me and asked me a question that was a surveying question without any blinking. I was like, oh, things have changed.
Right.
They don't think of women like this so much anymore, this younger age. So it's different.
Exactly. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's been a consistent story from the past, and just the few women that were in surveying, and that's what we've been trying to pick up that narrative as the National Society, is that things have changed. It is a different environment. It isn't so physical and brawny and things, that there's so much more to the profession now than there ever has been. And so to see yourself kind of, part of that charge, leading the way in leadership, and really how things can happen for surveying. I applaud all the women that go forward, because there's so much more that you do add to our profession.
I would agree. And I'm going to say, I applaud all the men that really, really helped me through this, didn't think of me as anything else, but they're equal. So, I think we all did it together.
Exactly. Well, that's great. Well, and I guess that's part of the question I have, for you as the principal of a firm, and you're hiring and firing and dealing with all of these things as a leader of the firm. What is it how do you approach running a surveying business? And not that it's going to be any different than from a male perspective, but there has to be a little different viewpoint on how to run a business from the female perspective than probably the stereotypical male.
Yeah, I think so. It's actually kind of funny, because in some ways I realize about how something affected somebody. I think I'm more aware than the men of how somebody told an instruction, how they were angry when they told them, and I would soften it. And I think I do soften those things. But at the same time, I can tell you right now, of the three bosses, when it really comes down to being cutthroat and making decisions, I'm the worst. I'm the hardest. So, yeah, it is different. It's definitely different. And I think it's different for my employees. But I think that's good because we have both here.
Exactly. And I guess that's what I appreciate about the nurturing side that women bring to this profession and to the environment. That it doesn't have to be, I mean, yes, you make the hard decisions when the rubber has to meet the road and you have to make the hard decisions, you do it. But there is I think there's, like I said, there's a little more of a nurturing aspect to leadership. And it really comes down to, and that's what I like about people in your position, that you actually add more leadership than it is just managing.
Yes. Thank you. I would agree. I'm going to tout our women's horn and say, yes, we do.
Oh, exactly. Because, and I guess that's part of the, the other question I have for you. And as far as developing the environment of your firm, both inside and outside, for, and from a woman that's been there, what is it, what can we do better as a profession to encourage women, minorities, others that aren't stereotypically, surveyors, that we are a great profession that we really need to be considered going forward, because of the opportunities.
Well, like I said, when I began, that there was hardly any women, and now there are a lot more women than when I was younger, and there was two. But we had to start small, and I think in New York, anyway, I don't know about other states, we're having more of not more, but a diversity problem, and different.
Right.
It's really mostly white males and now white females, and you know what? I think we just have to start small. We really have to work on encouraging everyone to do this job. You know what? Surveyors don't care who is working for them. We want workers. We want you. We want you outdoors. We want you making our maps. We don't care. So if we can start getting a small bunch, it will just grow. We just need to encourage it.
Exactly. And that's part of what I think the New York Society is doing a great job. Their PR committee has really just taken the bull by the horns and really promoting the profession quite a bit. And I appreciate from the national perspective all of the things that they're doing and incorporating and really promoting people like yourself, people like Badey and such, that really this is what this profession is all about. It's about the good people that are in it, and there's obviously plenty of room for growth, because we've got a lot of opportunities out there that, unfortunately, it's kind of universal at this point, that we got a lot of jobs that need to be filled, and we've got to get there. So, question for you though, I want to go back to the whole mentality of surveying a little bit, because this is something that I've talked about with several other both male and female surveyors, especially when it comes to a project. And you talked about how you and your dad complemented each other a little bit. Some of the things that we keep coming up with is that men are just generally problem solvers. Give it to me. We're gonna solve this boundary. We're gonna solve this problem. Boom, boom, boom. We're done. We've got to get on to the next one. Whereas I appreciate the fact that from a female perspective, it's a little more thoughtful. It's a little more thought provoking, and it's a balance that is able to put some things together that when I've worked with female contemporaries, they really bring a different viewpoint to a complex problem, and it it's opened my eyes quite a bit. And so I guess I'm curious from your perspective, am I seeing something unique, or how do you attack a project and a problem like that?
Well, without being specific about it, I mean, I am driven by a deadline and making sure the customer's happy. So I
Sure.
will, you know, so I do push people. I push my staff, to get everything I need, and I continue on that way. Um, and I do want to make them happy, and I really try to emphasize the things that they actually needed versus, okay, I'm just going to do a survey. But the important part was that, we wanted to locate this tree because this tree is very important to us. And, so we make that tree look special, So I think that, I don't know that men don't do this, but I think that's what I try to do. I want to
Mhm.
emphasize what what they care about, what they need, and why that part is important. That's what I think.
Sure, sure. Well, and that's something that, like I said, I've talked about with other women. It's kind of it is that whole right brain, left brain thing, and how we can complement each other when we do work well together. So, no, that's always a big thing. I think, and I think it fosters a better work environment that we can solve problems together, and especially in, like you said, in this some of these projects that are breakneck speed and got to deliver, and it's it's challenging at times to get some of this stuff out. So I can just imagine.
It's very challenging.
Yes, very much so. Well, I guess just in putting together your office environment, are there things that you are looking for in future employees, both inside and outside? I mean, what if you could find, let's say, the I won't say the perfect employee, but what are some of the characteristics that really stand out to you for what would make a good, well, inside and or outside surveyor, a technician?
Well, I don't know that this is just for surveying. I mean, I feel that somebody that wants to, when they're here, they want to work. They want to be here, especially outside. I mean, that's a hard thing being outside. Everybody, that's a non-surveyor thinks that it's sunny days and wonderful all the time. It's not. It's probably
No.
maybe 20% of the year that you really get some really good days. So they need to want to be here. They need to show some enthusiasm for things that are not so fun. I get some interviews where the first thing people say is, "Hey, you got any drones?" Yeah, I know drones are fun. And then even if you're doing the drone, there's a whole bunch of inside work that has to be done. That's not so
Exactly.
fun. So I look for people that actually realize the work that goes behind the easy stuff. I think that's what I would look for, and probably most people look for. Honesty, hard worker,
Good.
decent person, and I will reciprocate that.
Very good. Well, and I guess part of it is also you're near obviously one of the biggest urban areas in the country, seeing a lot of work. How does the profession of surveying look, and how's the future look for surveyors? We keep thinking, there are those that want to say that things are slowing down and it's going to be doom and gloom soon, but yet all the surveyors I'm talking to are just it's gangbusters. How does the profession look to you as far as future work and really still that need for surveyors?
Well, I think that as surveyors, we have to push a little bit back to society. We have to, for one, like you said, the PR committee, we're working really hard on public awareness of what we do, why it's important, understanding what we do once they get their mat, not just throwing it in the, in their filing cabinet. We have to push back on some of the other professionals to start recognizing our work and putting our names down on that work so that we they're always very eager to call us when there's a problem. But if my name's not on there, I don't know why you're calling me. So put our names down. We'll take the bad stuff, but you need to give us the good stuff too. And in terms, I think we started a little late in trying to push the younger generation, but what I see from the younger generation now, I'm really impressed by them. I think that they are doing a fantastic, in New York anyway, they're doing a fantastic job.
Right.
So I have a lot of faith in them.
Well, good. Because it was nice to meet a lot of the students there, Alfred State and the Ranger School. I'm hearing rumblings that Paul Smith is trying to get that program back up and running again, which would be a fantastic thing, because obviously there is a need for our future surveyors and geospatialists. So, but New York is really doing a great job. And I guess the last question I have for you is, based upon what you've learned at this point in your career, any advice for future surveyors, and how you see someone can be successful in this little thing we like to call our career?
Well, I think you actually kind of stole my answer when you said it before, but I think that I think they need to listen to the older folk. I mean, hey, I have so much respect for those guys that actually did hand calculations after they had been in the field for all day long. We got it easy. So please listen to the older generation and push us. You're right. We need to listen to our younger people, and incorporate some of their ideas. Maybe some of it doesn't work, but if we both work together, we will have a fantastic profession that will thrive. So that's my spiel.
Very good. Well, very good. Well, I appreciate your time, being respectful of the time, and but you know what? I look forward to actually meeting you in person soon, and like I said, all the stuff that New York's got going on is fantastic. I'm so proud of what they've done, and getting to know the people behind the association. And like I said, it's been a pleasure to hear about all the great things that you've done, and really put some things out there. And finally, it's good to sit and talk to you as well. I said I can't wait to meet in person, and we'll share a few more stories down the road.
That sounds great. I appreciate that, Tim.
Well, that'll wrap us up for this week of Surveyor Says. We've got several weeks left of Women's History Month and Women in Surveying. So we've got a couple more conversations just like this one, this great conversation with Jen. Thank you again, Jen. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.